form while I was waiting for you. Those are all good smoke blowing comments you made on there. Very good. You understand how the game is played.
Yeah, so they have this thing where they have this thing called salary policy. And what it is it's an envelope of money that they give out to employees up to a maximum of 2% a year. So they give it to you.
Go ahead.
So they give it to you like right before this meeting, and then they tell you this meeting is not about that, but you're allowed to like ask about that. So if you get like 1.3%, you know, your boss is like not as happy with you as if you got 2%. So I'm thinking that I have to go in there and talk about how I want to be like promoted this year and go beyond that 2%, because the work I'm doing compared to other people in similar universities in that role is in like a higher pay grade. That's why I wrote at the bottom, I wrote director level.
Okay. And so what can I help you with when you go in the room? What are you worried about?
They always want to hear about how you can improve. And the only thing that I think I need to improve are those assertiveness skills. But then to demonstrate that, I sound like somebody that gets walked on, like that they push around. Which is like my department is about 16 senior financial people, and part of my role is to be like sort of the office manager, but a lot of times they just treat me like I'm the secretary, you know? So when they don't like something that I've said, they just like ignore it and do the opposite. So when I call them on it, they just like blow me off, you know? So I do think like I do need to learn how to be more assertive, but it's also about like how to be taken seriously, how to be more commanding. But I don't know if saying that to my boss makes me look too weak.
No. He knows what's happening now, doesn't he?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, well then you should say something like, I would like some help and some advice from you on how to be taken seriously by these 16 people. When I ask them to do X, they ignore me or they don't do it. And I believe if I took assertiveness training, I'd be able to be more forceful with getting them to do what's needed to be done, not what I want them to do. Don't say it that, but what needs to be done. And is there any way you can help me do that? Now, I was in the United States Army, and every company I ever worked for is run like the United States Army. Okay. I don't know what it's like in a university. It's a nonprofit, I assume.
Well, it's nonprofit in the sense that that they focus on they operate based on government money, so they can have huge deficits and spending, and there's never any consequences. Okay. It's a bit like the Army, yeah.
So there's no way to keep score. You can't prove you're doing a better job because your unit made another 400,000 this year.
No, it's only if you cut costs.
Right, you cut costs. Okay. So I lost my train of thought there. Let me think about it. So the point is that when I hired a good friend who was the guy that taught me most of what I knew about being a tech writer. And I needed somebody who knew what he was doing to help me with these proposals at Bechtel. And I told my boss about it. And he said, yeah, I'll bring him in, but I don't want you down there fucking around in the bottom of the ship. I want you up here running the ship. And you're going to have him do it. I said, that's fine. That's a good deal. But my friend was very non-assertive. And every time he'd get in trouble, he'd come to me, and I said, Bernie, I can't come and put out every brush fire. You're going to have to learn how to do this. And he said, well, you have to have Maury, the boss of me and him, tell these people that it's my responsibility. And I said, he did. He's not going to back you up. His attitude is, if you can't do it, I'll get somebody who can. So people can't make you the boss. They can't walk down there with you and say, everybody, this is a new officer in charge here, and you will all obey him. They never do that. So you can't ask your boss to do that. You have to say to him, is there any way we could have a memo go out and say that you're not quite happy or you're not as pleased as you could be? Think of the way to say that with how Joseph is not being appropriately listened to when he issues directions. And I would like to make sure everybody understands Joe's responsibilities are X, Y, and Z. And from now on, I really appreciate your cooperation in helping Joe accomplish his responsibilities. Something like that. And you could even draft it ahead of time.
Okay.
They don't like to write it themselves. They want you to do the work and they'll sign it. But you can say this might be a way to solve the problem without getting you directly involved. Maybe if we just had a memo that went to the 16 people about what my responsibilities are and that you expect X, Y, and Z to happen when you give me a task, something like that.
One thing, I mean, I realize it's my fault, is before I started working with you, you know, I was wearing like the bow ties and all the like stuff like that. So I think that maybe lowered my influence. Like you know, maybe it's like a bit of a caricature, you know, I look like a guy you don't take seriously. So I stopped doing all that. I shaved. I'm dressing, you know, according to the program. And I'm just hoping that I put enough distance so that people see me as a new person.
Okay.
Lesson there.
I think that would be appropriate to say to your boss, but not in writing. Say, I was talking with one of my friends, and he thought maybe I shouldn't be dressing to express myself, but rather so I fit in. It made sense to me, so I changed the way I dress. And maybe that's one of the reasons they didn't take me seriously.
Right, that's a good idea.
So you own it, but don't put it in writing. Own it in front of him. And I would guess that's behind a lot of it. Okay, now you're a relatively short guy, right?
Yeah, 5'6".
Okay, when you talk to these people, you should sit down at the chair beside them. Okay, because then they can't see how tall you are. But if you just walk in and sit down and say, I'm here to talk about X, Y, and Z, whatever it is. And then while you're talking, if you stand up while you're talking, then you become the tallest guy in the area. He's still sitting. Okay, and that gives you a little more stature. These are all tricks of office politics that aren't in the book. I should put them in there. And if the guy's important, you should never stand up while he's sitting.
Okay.
Because that makes him intimidated, and he doesn't want to be intimidated. And when you go into his office, you don't sit down until he tells you if he outranks you.
Okay.
That's all just office etiquette. That's all going to be on Success in Business and Life website, that kind of stuff.
One thing that I feel like is a bit out of my control is that they reorganized the whole office, the actual offices. And then when I started there, my area was like right in the middle of everyone, like a cubicle in the middle of everyone. So I looked like the receptionist.
Uh-huh.
And it's hard to take, like I have, you know, whatever degrees and MBA, all kinds of shit. But it's hard to take somebody seriously if they're like the receptionist.
Yes.
But if I bring that up, it's my boss who designed the office that way. So I feel like if I bring that up, it's in a way saying, you know, it's your fault that I'm a receptionist. You know, is there any way to bring that up?
Where are you now?
Now I'm like the receptionist. I don't even have walls.
Oh, I thought you meant they had changed it since you got there.
Yeah, they changed it into this. This is like worse.
Oh, okay. Well, then you can say something like this. Was it different you were there in a certain other place before you changed it to being central?
Sorry, you cut out there for a sec.
Was it different before they changed it? Were you there when it was different?
No.
Okay. I'm thinking. So you want to communicate that I think part of the problem might be that I look like a receptionist. I don't have an office. I'm sitting out in the middle of the floor. You don't have to say anything beyond that. Say it might help if I were off to the side. Excuse me. How many people have offices? Excuse me.
Out of the 16,
Yes.
there are 3 so 13 of them have offices.
Okay. So I think part of the problem, you can add, part of the problem might be they see me as having no power because I'm not in an office like most of them are. I'm sitting out on the floor, and I think they look at me like a receptionist. You don't have to say anything beyond that. I'm
Okay.
just there. My credentials aren't on display anywhere, my MBA and my whatever else you have to make sure.
Excuse me.
Do you have any other pieces of paper that should be hanging on the brag wall, we call it at Bechtel?
Oh, I have an MBA. I have a bachelor's in accounting. I have all kinds of certifications on conflict resolution.
Okay.
All the stuff.
Yeah.
All the stuff that I get, the office to pay for, and I go do training.
Yes. Keep doing that, especially the servantist training, because anything you can get them to pay for is good. You'll learn something from everybody. Bechtel paid for me to go to a class called fuck, I don't remember. But it was kind of like public speaking, but it wasn't. It was more than that. And it was one of the most helpful things I ever learned on how to get along with people, how to phrase things, how to make presentations. Anything they'll pay for, take it and apply for it, especially anything you're interested in. Try to make it sound like fly fishing has something to do with being able to be a good, what is your title, by the way? What do they call you?
I am a business officer.
That's it? And what are your responsibilities? Is that written down?
Yeah, I have like a job description, which basically talks about, financial management of the office. And then part of it is like to be like sort of like an executive assistant to the director. So that's where this whole secretarial thing comes in.
When you're executive assistant to the director, who is the director? Your boss or these 16 people?
No, my boss.
Okay. And what is their titles? If he's the director, what are they called?
So the boss is called the executive director. And then the 16 people, there's about 8 of them that are planning analysts. And then there's another 8 that are financial analysts.
Okay.
And some of them have been there forever, so some of them have senior in front of their title and all kinds of bullshit.
Yeah.
But it's basically a unit that focuses on like reporting financial things to the government and back to the stakeholders and the board of governors. Like really, we push papers everywhere.
Okay. And your goal for this meeting, if you could sum it up really short, what would it be?
Well, I want to assert that I'm looking to move to the director level.
Uh-huh.
So my boss is executive director. So if ever I move to director level, he would still be above me. So it's not like I'm reaching too high for his job.
Right.
But, I want to really focus on how can we take it to the next level. So I want to try to stay above the fray of, people treat me like a secretary and blah, 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 and try to see how can we develop it so that I can lead a department and manage a department.
Okay. And what are the advantages of him doing that for you? We always phrase it so it would make your job a lot easier if.
Well, I think the advantages of him is that he has to report to the principal of the university, and like that person has a team of like 50 people. So my boss is always in meetings taking care of a million other things.
Uh-huh.
So these 16 people in my department are just running wild.
Uh-huh.
So, and then my boss is about to take over another department, so he's going to be adding more members. So in a way, if I'm more senior, it takes off a lot of this stuff off of his plate because he doesn't have time to do it either.
Okay. This is very common.
I have it here.
Okay. Don't let anybody see it. That should not be at work.
I brought it to show it on our video.
Okay. That's all right. Let me see if I can find
Right
it.
out of California.
All right. I'm looking. It might be under understand the boss or manage the boss. We don't look it up now, but the idea is in there. I do explain how to do that.
Okay.
When he's busy, when he has all these meetings, you say, I think it might be more effective if you would promote me to be the director of this department, and you can be the executive director and take care of all the other stuff you're doing, and I can keep these 16 people moderately under control. They don't seem to be under control at all now, frankly. And that's why our costs are whatever they are.
That's a good one, yeah.
But you're gonna have to phrase it so it's more carefully stated than that. When is your performance review?
May 28th.
Okay, we have some time then. Why don't you try writing up a real short memo about all the advantages of promoting you to director, and use simple English, and use examples of what happens now and what happens if you were able to be considered to be above the people that you're trying to control. That's what you're essentially saying, is they're not listening to me because they think they're better than me.
Right.
I think, right? And so what we're doing is we're giving the boss a solution. We're not giving him a problem. But when you write up in your performance review, you said about saving money here and saving money there, but this will require this and that'll require that. Now, instead of assertiveness training, I think you should substitute something that implies I need the mantle of title, or the mantle of, maybe mantle is not quite the right word. I need the, I can't think of the word. What it means is when you give the new king that thing he holds in his hand, the scepter, I think it's called.
Oh, yeah, the scepter.
Okay, that means I'm in charge. And so the mantle's the thing you put on over your shoulder that proves you're in charge. I can't think of it, but the idea is, I think part of the problem is that I'm not taken seriously because I'm not at the right, I wouldn't call it pay grade, but I'm not at the right administrative level, or I'm not above them. They look at me like they are my superiors, and therefore they don't listen to me. That's very blunt. Okay. Try to think of some way to tone that down, but you can send it to me and I'll help you with it.
Okay.
The idea is you're offering a solution of promoting you to director to keep these herd under control and get the cost down. And then give us some hard numbers. Right now, the 16 wild Indians spend this much money. And I think if I were be able to control them with the authority to control, there's the word I'm looking for. I think I need the authority. They need to see me as the authority over them in controlling these costs. And I don't think they're going to control their costs unless they see me that way. And the only thing not say the only thing, One of the ways might be if I were a director. Something like that. That might be still a little too blunt.
So I'll work on a script, and then we'll
Not a script, a memo.
a memo. Okay.
It says, from you to him, it basically solves the problem of controlling the costs because you're not taken seriously. And this doesn't have anything to do with the performance review. You could write this if it didn't have anything to do with it. This
Right.
is your opportunity. But then go back in your performance review and those objectives you had, you could say, do this and this and this. However, that would require that I be, I hate the word promoted because it scares everybody. If I were a senior gopher, they might listen to me. Or I think I would be taken more seriously and they would do as I say.
Right.
Do as I recommend, not as I say.
Do as I recommend. I like it.
Okay. Let's give that a shot. And then we can do this again after we get that together.
Okay, I like it, Don.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome. And
You want to send me the recording and we put it up?
no, I don't need, I'll send it to you, but this isn't quite good enough. We'll do the next one and then we'll just catch them up on what we discussed in this one.
Okay, the next one, I'll make sure that I have better audio.
Oh, this audio is fine.
Okay.
I mean, you can even sit there and hold your phone like you're doing.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Okay, good luck.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. That's
Have a
what
good
I'm
day.
here. See ya. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.